Mark Goldberg with UN Dispatch here on the north lawn of the White House with Roger Doiron of Kitchen Gardeners International. Welcome, welcome. Roger is from Maine, and as regular readers of UN Dispatch know, Roger is the winner of our On Day One contest. And Roger, your idea was what?
My idea was to replant a victory garden on the White House lawn with the produce going to the White House kitchen, but also with overflow going to local food pantries.
So what exactly is a victory garden?
A victory garden is a term that a lot of people can relate to. It was the term that was used for the gardens that were planted during World Wars I and II, when people were very concerned about the economy, they were concerned about conserving resources, and they were concerned about doing their part, kind of pitching in for the greater good. And when you look around and you read the newspapers, I think we're there again. And I think it makes sense to call once again for a new victory garden movement. And I can't think of a better place to have this start than on the White House lawn.
And so we are sort of on the north lawn of the White House here. And what is there sort of a larger climate change issue at stake when you advocate people planting their own gardens?
Well, I see it that way. I see it as, on the one hand, it can seem a very small issue and somewhat inconsequential, this idea of planting a garden. But of course, we're not talking about planting a garden. We're talking about a garden that is capable of inspiring literally millions of other gardens. And so if you start looking at the cumulative effect of that, it really does add up, and it starts to impact all kinds of things, from climate change to health policy to helping people become more economically self-reliant. So all of these different things that the Obama administration is committed to working on, here's an opportunity for them to do it. And it's something that's very, very accessible. It's an idea that the average person, whether American or from abroad, they can relate to this. So it's very simple and accessible, and it's doable.
So a garden on the White House lawn kind of gives a new meaning to the term change that starts at home.
Exactly. I was really impressed by President Obama's inaugural speech, where he talked about ushering in a new era of responsibility. And I couldn't agree more, and I really think that that era of responsibility can start at home, and it should start at home. It can start on a very, very simple level with simple actions, and when those actions are done by hundreds of thousands, if not millions of people, they really do add up.
So you're an experienced gardener. First of all, how much of the White House lawn do you think should be devoted to this vegetable garden?
I'm trying to avoid that question a little bit because I'd like to give that responsibility to the Obamas and to the grounds crew to make that decision. Obviously, it'd be nice to have something large enough that we could really capture the imagination of the American people in the world. Ideally, it'd be something that could feed the Obama family, as well as creating some overflow for local food pantries, as I said. So I'm not exactly sure what that size needs to be, but it should be big enough to capture people's attention and imagination.
So So we're in the Mid-Atlantic region here. Obviously, what produce grows? What grows well here?
I think the better question is what doesn't grow here. It's a very, very friendly climate for gardeners. As a Mainer coming down here, it really makes my mouth water to think of all the things I could be growing here that are much harder for me to grow up in Maine. But that said, up in Maine, it's very possible to grow a number of different things. And my family and I, we try to do as much of this as we possibly can. And we're working in a much more challenging climate. But just to give you an example, we were able to grow roughly half of the vegetables that we needed last year from our very modest suburban garden. So if we can do that as a busy family in Maine on less than a third of an acre, with no full-time gardening staff whatsoever, and with the different challenges that go with our climate, it just makes me think that this is something that a lot of other people could be doing. And
those people live right there now.
They happen to live right there, yes.
So President Obama, Mrs. Obama, listen to Roger Doiron and plant your garden soon.